Can I just say, why the f do we have a Chad like Riku as
Why
an
does he
op-on?
look like that?
His voice was... I wasn't ready for that. I was like, well, at least I don't have to listen to Tora the whole game. This is nice.
Yeah, you've got the dad Ricky and the Chad Riku. They're like the two ends now. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, are my good friends, Hunter and Kyle. Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm doing incredible. How are you?
I'm doing just swell as well. It's great. Xenoblade 3 is finally here, dude. Xenoblade
It's a real
3
video game.
is finally here, and I didn't have to fight through COVID to get here, but hey, oh wait, oh boy, what a week to get COVID. Yeah, that happened. It's like, literally, as soon as we finished recording the podcast, and I was like, the next day I was like, I have a sore throat, must have just been straining it too much, and then the day after it was like, nope, it's the Rona. So it was great fun.
Oof.
Final challenge, it was like, you thought that having no games all year was hard? Wait till you fight COVID. And it wasn't that bad.
What if you got the ligma?
What have you got the big leg? And I was like, challenge accepted. So if my voice sounds a bit raspy or a bit off, you know why. I'm still technically positive as well, so I'm going to give it to you two over the airwaves and everybody else watching and listening. So you better mask up, guys. You better mask those ears.
The ear COVID.
All right.
The ear COVID. Oh no. Oh god. Oh no, Hunter's breaking his set. Oh, okay, perfect. Great. Wonderful. But no, welcome back to the show, everybody.
That one's actually kind of uncomfortable. I'm not going to wear it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The bit went well. You can stop. But no, welcome back to the show.
Did it go well?
It went well
I almost
enough.
dropped something.
Who knows? Yeah, but would it be a bit without a massive loud noise to disturb podcast users? That's the real
You know
thing.
what? You're
That's the
right.
real thing. But no, welcome back to the show, everybody. We're every Monday at around 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern on podcast service, slightly later on youtube.com/hotgamesonly. You can find us talking about everything we love in the world of gaming. This week, it's Xenoblade Day. We made it. The promised land is here 3 months early, but it's here. So we are going to do our in-depth first impressions of Xenoblade 3. That's basically our plan for most of the episode. If we run out of things to say, we might talk about other things. Cal played Live Alive. Will he talk about it? Let's find out. Will it get added to the pile of Elden Ring and
Shadow
the AI
Realm.
Somnia files spoiler cast that are in the Shadow Realm? We'll see. We'll see. But no, the way it's going to work this week is we're going to do our general first impressions, which is our usual segment. It'll probably be 15 minutes long, as we usually do, 20 minutes long, where we just give our overall thoughts and feelings on it in a more general sense for those of you who are new to Xenoblade or just don't want the specifics. And then we'll go into the little nerdy details afterwards, which will probably be the bigger section where we go all into it. We'll go all in on the story. We'll talk about where we're all at, how we're doing, and all of that jazz. We'll get all nitty gritty on it because we know you Xenoblade fans love to listen. So we'll put on a show and watch as none of you show up. That'll be epic.
When the game's finally out,
But they're all
don't
too
need
busy
us
with the game.
anymore.
Yeah, they're all too busy playing Xenoblade, so they're not going to be here. But trust us, we're going to talk all about it. Let's just get into it. I don't even have much of a spiel, really. Thank you for watching the Stray episode last week. Thank you for watching the what's that game called? We just said it.
AI,
the
the
Somnia
Somnium
Files
Files,
review.
Nirvana.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's still
Dunno.
doing good. Thank you.
Appreciate it for all the support. If you can keep that rolling, we'd very much appreciate it. Alrighty, boys. So here we are. Weeb fucking Christmas is here. It has arrived. We have made it. I guess the first question is how many hours have we put in? Because we're going to have to do that in a bit where we're going to have to figure out who's the furthest behind and work out where we can talk
Probably me.
story-wise.
Probably
I don't know
Hunter.
because, yeah, I mean, I'll start. I've got 15 hours in. That's how
I've
far
got
I am.
12.
Okay, Carl's at
7.
12. Hunter's at 7. There we go. So we've all put in a decent chunk. I'll
Put
admit
in
that...
at least a work day's worth of time.
Oh, hell yeah. And I guess from where Hunter is with 7 hours, I assume that's mainly story because there's not really been much of a chance to deviate. so far.
And when I did have side quests, right before they stopped giving them to me, I decided I wasn't going to do them anymore. So,
Perfect.
Thanks, game. I appreciate it.
And both me and Kyle, we were talking off the podcast beforehand. We're at the exact same point story-wise. It's just I went around and spent like 3 hours or so pissing about and doing side content for a little while. So we're roughly all in the same place, which is a good start. So I don't know. Where do you want to start with these general impressions? I don't know. Overall thoughts? Because I guess I'll throw this out there first. I am honestly shocked at how polished this video game is. Like we'd heard rumors for a while that this game had been sitting on a shelf, and then when they pulled the release date forward a couple of months, people were like, "Yeah, maybe it's been sitting on a shelf." But it's like, I was saying to Kyle yesterday,
as done as it could ever be. Apparently,
I've not seen a game launch this polished on Switch from Nintendo, like, period. I think even Breath of the Wild was a bit kind of on the edge, kind of tinkering a bit with how it is, but like this game is like, especially from Xenoblade 2, which had the menu system of a PS2 game and was extremely unintuitive. I am very shocked at how much of a step up everything is in terms of UI and all of that jazz. It's kind of crazy how polished it is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really does feel like Monolith really stepped up with the production on this game. Because comparing it to base Xenoblade 2 and even post-patches Xenoblade 2, because it just got worse loading time-wise, like, this game, it's super well done.
I don't know what happened. Like, where it's like, it genuinely feels like, for starters, it's like, as a Xenoblade fan, we probably should have got this out of the way, right? As a Xenoblade fan, I fucking despise Xenoblade gameplay. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Xenoblade gameplay or the gameplay loop. I like the battle system, but not enough to go out of my way to do it anytime other than when necessary, usually. So to get into the game and be like, oh no, the menus feel like they're trying this time, and oh no, like the tutorials, even though they're so fucking handholdy, it's unreal at times.
Oh my god, I want to punch whoever made these tutorials in the mouth. Every time one comes up, I'm like, stop it, I know what to do.
My favorite part is when it's like
nobody understood how to play Xenoblade 2 to heart and overcompensated.
Takahashi's somewhere just laughing at all of us right now.
But they are written really well, to the point where you can actually tell what's fucking going on by these ones, unlike the Xenoblade 2 ones. And it's
where they actually just got stuff wrong? Yeah, it's great.
Well, I mean, they could have gotten stuff wrong right now in the 3, and I haven't noticed yet. But it's like, it just seems from a presentation standpoint, I'm not going to talk about how the game looks. Like, it visually does look great for a Switch game, but I feel like we're still using that argument of for a Switch game, because it very much is, especially when I've been playing it on a 50-inch TV just for shits and giggles. Extremely blurry at times and very pixely. And the hair, what is up with the hair? Has anyone else noticed that the hair in this game looks fucking horrendous? Like, it's really
weird, like, lighting on the hair.
Lance's long coat, I noticed a funny bit of physics with that, where he like bent down at one point early on in the game, and it like went with him instead of like the coat would stick to you.
But it's just like there's a level of kind of polish when it comes to the actual UI and presentation where I'm like, this is a massive step up for Xenoblade. Like, this genuinely feels kind of AAA JRPG in 2022, not AAA JRPG with PS2 menus and terrible fucking like menu design. It genuinely does feel like, it feels like a similar menu system that you'd find in like a Tales game or a Final Fantasy game, or even like, I feel like, especially when we get to eventually like the combo attacks and stuff like that, they've taken some very specific like inspiration from like even like SMT and stuff like that, where it feels like they've gone and looked at other recent JRPG releases and went, okay, let's actually aim for good-looking UI and actually usable menus instead of the fucking shite that was Xenoblade 1 and 2's menus, which were absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the gameplay then, because, you know, Kyle, you're a big gameplay nut when it comes to Xenoblade. Me and Hunter couldn't give two shits, but
I'll say this much: I like this one's the most. Not exactly
I
a
think
high
it's-
bar, not a high bar to clear, but it's doing it.
I mean, I was gonna let Kyle say what he thought from a technical. I think it's the best combat system out of any Xenoblade game. I mean, again, it's basically it's like they've taken things from 1 and then they've kind of fucking sellotaped it into 2's combat and made 2's combat a little more easy to digest, which I think is a kind of best of both worlds situation. I like it. Kyle?
I think I still prefer 2's combat compared with 3.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like something that keeps putting me off is that if you're moving, your attacks just don't come out, like in Xenoblade 2, but unlike in 2, you can't auto attack cancel into itself. Like after you stop moving, you attack.
They got
and
rid
stop
of
moving.
the little stutter step, yeah.
The stutter stepping, yeah. It's just and it takes so long for the auto attacks to start back up again.
Yeah, I feel like
something's just putting me off, but
I feel
it's
like
still
the auto
really
attack is
enjoyable.
really slow, but I feel like the reason it's slow is because there's at most points 6 to 7 bastards all swinging at the same time,
Right.
and it's like it feels slow, but also you don't notice it on the health bar or anything like that because you've got so many people chipping in and chucking their best at it. What I will say, and I don't know if you've noticed this, I feel like it's a lot more fun to play as the Agnes classes than it is the Kevez classes, because being able to have the it's supposed to be balanced, right? Whereas Agnes is like Xenoblade 1, where it's all on a timer, it's all on a cooldown, and Kevez is on timer, Agnes is on combat hits, so it's similar to Xenoblade 2 where you have to hit, it does a percentage of building up the thing. The build up just feels better, and it feels like, to me, it feels slightly faster, where to me, playing as an Agnes character where you have those building up and then you have the kind of Kevez cooldown things on the reserve moves feels a lot more fun and feels like it's working a lot better than having your main moves on this timer, this arbitrary timer, and the bonus moves going up as you're hitting them. I don't know why, I just like the way the Agnes characters play more. It feels weird, but also it doesn't fucking matter anyway because it's all based on the weapons, so it's like you're swapping them out left, right, and center. Have you been using much of the swapping of classes, Hunter? Have you been doing that, or have you kept everyone on basic?
Experimented with it for a little bit when they introduced it, and then I sent them back because everyone started dying. So, yeah, they're just gonna stay like that until I deem it necessary to do otherwise.
Well,
it's okay, Hunter. You're gonna get a cool dual sword class in a bit, and things are gonna be great.
Awesome.
And
we'll
then
get
you'll
into
never switch Noah off of that again.
That's very.
We'll get into the
likely.
nitty-gritty of it. I was talking to Kyle about it off the podcast, but we'll definitely talk about that in the more nerdy section because I have a lot to say about this system, and none of it is very much relevant to if you're a first timer or if you're just going to play it casually. So what I'll just say to it is I dislike how the game basically bitches at you every time you go to the menu and you're on a max level character. It's like, change the fucking character.
When I changed them all back, I was like, oh, well, shut up, game. I'll do what I want.
The game's trying to min-max you, and I'm like, I don't like it.
And I'm like, I'm not going to play like this. I played Xenoblade 2 with the default blades the whole time. You don't know who you're dealing with.
And I've been trying it, and I'm like...
That gacha system can suck it.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I absolutely... At first, I thought it was funny when they swapped clothes, and now I fucking hate the cosplay shit. It's so dumb. I hate seeing...
I wish they would have just designed the costumes more around what they
That's
looked
what I
like.
was saying. What if it was like weapon designed? Or everyone has a different costume, but it's all based on the weapon because they're using that new weapon. Instead of them just going, Uni's clothes are now mine, and I look weird because my name is Vans, and I'm fucking 7 foot tall, and now I'm wearing a crop top. And it's like, no, like we don't need Vans and Senna's like armor. We don't need that. Like, give her her
The
own
thing that puts me off about the characters changing clothes is that it's only the jackets that get moved over. Their shoes don't change.
No.
The lower half of them does not change. It is only the jackets.
It's just weird. I'm just like, I turned it off. There is a point later into where you can just have it so that you can set a default costume for everybody, like in other JRPGs.
Why
and I
would
did
they
that
just start
instantly.
with that?
I don't know. Because them
Xenoblade,
swapping
they
weapons
need
is
to drip
enough.
feed you everything.
Yeah, give me another annoying tutorial where you go,
It'll
now
be
you
the
can
last chapter. They'll still be tutorializing you.
now you can change things cosmetically. Go change everybody cosmetically because apparently doing it with the first guy didn't hammer home the point enough.
That's the tutorials where it's like, add an accessory to Noah, and then you do it, and then it's like, now do it for Uni, and then you do it for Uni, and it's like, now do it for Vans, now do it for Senna, do it for Senna. Like, now do it for Miu, and I'm like, God damn it, leave me alone.
You could have either just given me one, or you could have been like, give everybody in the party an accessory. As a blanket statement.
My favorite part about those is that if you try and do anything else during the tutorials, the game won't let you. You can't even after the tutorial's done, you can't do anything else until you close fully out of the menu.
I will give you this.
And then go back.
I'm going to turn the game off.
The
just
award,
out of spite.
The award for the worst tutorial of all time has to go to the moment in this game where they swap the classes over and then they tell you, we're going to lock the classes now so you can't touch those menus. And then literally in the next scripted fight, they're like, okay, we've opened the menus back up now. And I'm like, what's the point? Why did you lock them? It was one fight. You could have just had the fight happen straight away. Why?
Yeah.
This is so dumb.
Instead, they made me walk 100 meters, wondering when they would unlock it. Thankfully, it wasn't very long.
I'm just like, there's so many questionable choices here. And I'm just like, it's so stupid. There's a point as well where they do the exploration thing, which I fucking hate, which is where they're like, oh, you can't walk up sand or you can't climb that thing because you don't have the ability. And then you literally just go and play the next quest and they give it you. So I'm like, so why did you show the question mark on my way there when I couldn't get it if you were just going to give me the thing, the next mission, and then you could have put the question mark in when I had it? I'm like, this is so infuriating. I went around the whole fucking map at the start of chapter 3 looking for question marks and it was like, can't get that one, fucker. Can't get that one, fucker. That one's a cutscene saying you better not go in that area, fucker. Then I can't do that one. I'm like, why are we doing this? It's 2022. Why do we still have open, like, quote unquote, open worlds with side quests and stuff when it's like, nope, can't do that. Sorry, you need this ability later. You can't walk up sand yet. Sorry.
Like running into those stupid fire gem things in Horizon before you had the little igniter, and I was like, man.
And the stupid thing is, I found the sand walking one, by the way. It's not even a main quest. You can completely avoid that the entire fucking game. So it's like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, so you're telling me there was one question mark that I had to hit before all the other question marks so I can get that ability? Thank you. Wonderful. It's just like, there's stuff like that where I'm like, there's little gripes like that where I'm like, okay, you still feel like an old JRPG. There's gripes like that I have. I also still hate Xenoblade's battle UI design because holy shit, why is there so much on there? I'm like, has anyone heard of UI scaling? It's this brilliant thing in video games where you can make the UI smaller and stick it in the fucking corners more. Why is it like it's like you're on a boat and you're looking through a fucking porthole? Like, this is me trying to find the gameplay in the middle of the screen because everything else is just exploding everywhere. And then they have numbers and you can disable the numbers, but they're on by default. So literally I'm like trying to squint through looking for anything of gameplay because I'm like, Jesus, why is the UI so big and clunky? I'm like, you could have made that so much smaller.
It also doesn't help when you're fighting a boss that's large, and all the camera zooms out, so all your characters are small, so you can't even see where they are in the first place. So it's like, boy, I sure hope my healer's somewhere around here.
Or my
I'm
favorite.
dying.
Yeah, they also one system. Last thing I'll talk about on gameplay before we get into specifics that I'm not a huge fan of is obviously there's the roles, and I like the roles. I like that you are able to swap roles with people, but the roles do kind of feel a bit arbitrary. Especially, and I really don't like this fact, is they removed the revive system of the previous game, so you'd have like charge on your meter and you could use it to exchange it for revives was the old system. Now, healers can just revive. But if both of your healers go down, that's it. No revives for you, Buckaroo. Now you have to watch everybody else slowly die.
This is like, dude. So Tales of Arise doesn't have this problem exclusively when your healers die, because there are like Phoenix Down like items in those games at least. But you can't like manually heal them. So if you're out of like revive gels, then you're screwed, and you just watch your healers slip away as you're and the rest of your party die.
It's just stupid, because it's like, I'd understand if they had like a move on cooldown that revived, and then, we were talking about the class system, how you can pick up moves from other people, right? That'd be great if you could pick up revive from other people, and then eventually your whole party can revive. No, it's just a trait that you have to be in. If you're in the healer class, you can revive. So that means I know that for the rest of this fucking video game, I am going to be sitting here knowing that if my 2 greens go down, that's it. We're just up shit's creek without a paddle, and it's like we're just going to sit here. Because it happened to me in a boss in chapter 3 where they were the only 2 that got insta KO'd from a laser beam, and I just sat there and I was like, well, that's it. That's the fight. I just stood there waiting for death because I was like, well, there's no point in trying.
This feels like it feels like a big like 180 to be from the developers. Be like, all right, healers were useless in 1X and 2. What if we make them mandatory now?
Very important, and trust me, you won't want to play them. So because they're really they're very much a min-max kind of character. So it's like you really don't want to be playing them. I learned the hard way. I was like, nope, the AI can do that because the AI knows how to play. I don't.
The only one I'd consider playing is that war medic class I just got with the little kid.
Yeah,
because he's like damage dealing healer, which is good.
But even then, you've got to think about healing, and it's just like I don't want to think about healing.
And I also guess it went to Lance, and he's the tank. So
I would be bad at playing every time that I have to be worried about healing people. My situation is always okay. I'm gonna keep myself alive, and the rest of you guys, if you die, you die.
It
also doesn't help that the AoE on the heal moves it just feels really small.
It's like fucking this big, dude. It's like you gotta be touching cheeks, bro. You gotta be touching cheeks. I mean, I know we'll get to it. I know in the opening cutscenes, they basically show that these guys are like they're just army people through and through. They're nothing better. They shower together. They don't care. They're close. But I'm like, I didn't realize that extended to the gameplay where we have to be touching asses to heal because the radius is like that big. It's like so small. I'm like, holy, why is it so small? And why is it only for like 200? It's like, why is it so small? I've been asking that for years, but now it's even more relevant. I guess the final gameplay thing we should talk about are the Ouroboros, is it?
Ouroboros,
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, weird. Guys. I feel like they should be like a move where it's like you get far enough through a fight, you get far enough through a battle, and like a chain attack, it's like Ouroboros is now charged, and it's like Gigantamaxing, right? It's like fucking big boy time. Let's deal some damage in 60 seconds, like a quick kind of I'm gonna massive move. As you're fighting Mobius.
I'm gonna
mob, right? But what it just feels like is you just get into it. You're just dealing normal damage, and it just feels like they're just status effects, kind of. And
and the animations feel slower.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't feel, it's not.
I feel like half the time the ones that I'm pushing don't respond until like the third time I hit it too.
Yeah, as well. It doesn't feel as intuitive, and I'm like, this isn't what I expected when we basically thought we were just going to be like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, dude, and we just like go big, and it's like half the time I rarely touch it.
Cutscenes though.
Yeah.
Cool in the cutscenes, but I'm just like, most of the time I'm like, I'm barely touching it unless I'm like, I'm running out of moves, and let's just do it, or oh no, we're running out of health here, let's just do a quick fucking reset real quick and go in there for a little bit.
Yeah. Ouroboros, it feels like it was like trying to pay homage to the gear system from Xenogears or the scales from Xenoblade X, but it just doesn't feel like they're as impactful as those were. They just feel really limp by comparison.
It also just feels weird because, like I say, everything else is on a countdown, right? You've effectively got like 3 different build-up systems. You've got the chain attack system building up, you've got your Agnes form of building up, you've got your Kevez timer system of building up, and then just Ouroboros is just there. It's just like,
yeah, you can just do it whenever.
It's just there, and
as
it
long
doesn't
as the
really mean
other party
anything.
members alive. Yeah,
it just feels extremely weird, and I don't know. It's just I like the battle system. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's
I haven't
great.
done that many of the fights with where that's like actually does triggering that just reset your health?
No,
but it's one of those things where it stalls. So it's like the healing's that fucking shit in this game in a way where it's like a lot of the time you can just tell that your characters aren't going to get healed in time. So it's just a panic of, I need to reset the charge, do some damage. Hopefully then they'll come over to us because the AI will know that we're low when we're coming out. So they usually come over and heal you afterwards. The AI is...
Right.
I'll give them this. For having 7 characters on screen at a time, the AI feels like it's at least doing its job. It doesn't feel like it's all utter chaos out there, which I really do appreciate. I feel like there's more thought going into the 7 AI running around than there was the 2 or 3 AI in Xenoblade 1. There's a lot more going into it. And it just feels fun having 7 people. Like when you bully one person in the field. It's
when the party first like merged and you went from like the 3 to 6 and things started dying much quicker, I was like, well, that feels better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's a lot of fun. I guess my final like basic criticism of the gameplay is, and I don't know why you did this, Monolith. Why the hell in Xenoblade 2's DLC you added a auto aggro off setting? In Xenoblade DE, it was in the game by default, and I was like, oh, we're learning, ladies and gentlemen. They've learned. This game is fucking gone again, and I feel like enemies are even more aggro than they've ever been in a video game. Like, in any Xenoblade game.
I had something that was like level 5 trying to fight me while I was level 10.
I'm level 25 and level...
funny?
I'm level 25 and there'll still be level 18s that auto aggro on me. And I'm like, why? Like, I wish there was a setting to turn it off again, and they probably will add it in DLC. But I'm like, why can't that be in the base game? I thought you'd learnt that. But 2, why are things so aggro? Like, they're even more aggro than in Xeno 1 and 2 in this game. Like, I'll just be walking, and I think it doesn't help that there's 7 party members and they can aggro onto anybody. So you've got like this wide group of people walking. So it's like, even if you dodge it, someone in the corner of your party might get in their radius and then they're just aggro. And it's like, they also they chase like a motherfucker in this game. Like, you have to run away for a good 40 seconds.
when they're trying to attack you. So sometimes I've been like, okay, fine, I'll kill you.
I've been fighting a lot in this game, yeah. But it's mainly because it's like, things get aggro on me. I'm like, fine, just fucking do it. And especially because I'm building up these classes, it doesn't feel like as much of a waste of time. But still, I'd prefer if there was an option to just turn it off or limit it a slight bit where it's like, okay, only enemies above your level aggro onto you and not literally every Timmy underneath you. Like, I went back to a previous area and I was like, please tell me these level 8s aren't going to aggro onto me. They didn't, thankfully, but I was like getting to the point where I was like, maybe they will. Maybe. Before we get into the nitty gritty. What overall impressions of the story so far? Of the little that you've played, Hunter? We'll start with you, I guess, because you've played the least amount.
Oh, it's a fascinating setup. I like the whole fighting each other to steal each other's life force kind of thing. Their society is messed up, and I appreciate that. It has the potential to be the one I like the most at the end of all of it, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like
No,
the character
definitely.
designs the most in this game too. Noah looks far better than Rex or Shulk, for example.
He does, but I feel this game, yet again, suffers from Xenoblade protagonist syndrome. And what I mean by that is, especially if we're not counting Mio as a dual protagonist, if we're focusing solely on Noah from the start, because if we're talking about the first couple of hours, it is just Noah. Let's just talk about Noah for a second. They've got that Xenoblade problem again, where every single party member is far more interesting than the main person, where I'm like, I don't give a shit about Noah at the moment. And I still don't. It's like, he's just the general kind of, he's not Rex level of, like, I'm here for everybody.
I'm just a nice guy.
To a fault, which I
Yeah.
really like. At first I hated that about Rex, but then when you realize that that's the intention of going down that journey of having him fucking fail at every single step of the way, and still have that, keep hold of that determination, and that be like his like redeeming trait, is great. Whereas Noah just kind of feels like he's just like, you know, fighting to live, living to fight, and his whole kind of character is just like, why? But that's literally him. He's just like, why? Like, he's just like sitting there, just like he's like shrugged shoulders, the character, where it's like, whereas everybody else, you know, you've got Uni and Lars, who's very much, is it Lars or Vars? I think it's Lars, isn't it? Is it Lars? Lans? Oh, he's the one character that I don't remember his name of ever, because it's just like, I just want to call him Ryan, to be honest, because he is just Ryan. He's Ryan. Well, Uni and Lans are both Ryan and Ryan 2. They're basically both from the same cloth, which I do like. They're both great. They're very much your sassy kind of characters, and then the guys from Agnes are a lot more composed. But also, I feel like, at least from what I've seen so far, those three are also the three that seem to have a lot of heart, especially from Mio, with her time running out more than the others. You definitely do feel the sense of kind of that whole urgency come from that side. Also, they're really interesting. Like, I kind of, again, they both sides take character traits that I like a lot from their respective games. You know, you kind of have the sassiness, the cockiness of the Xenoblade 1 cast in Lans and Uni, and then you have the kind of the methodical kind of side of Morag and Teon, and then you also just have kind of the upright, like, joyous personality, that kind of bubbly personality that you would find in like Rex. You see that in God, is it what's her name?
Senna?
Is it Senna? I've just been calling her Nora because she reminds me of the Ruby character.
It is Senna. Yeah, it is Senna. But she's a very kind of positive, upbeat kind of character, which I like. And then Miu is very, like I say,
she's a Welsh cat girl.
Yeah, but she's also that whole, her being, she kind of feels like the emotional kind of middle point of the cast, where it's like, again, her time is up the soonest in this world, and she's writing, you know, I feel like she's going to make me cry at some point. I feel like she's the one that's going to make me cry, and I'm not emotionally ready for it. And it's like, I don't hate Noah. I like Noah quite a bit. It's just, he very much is the milquetoast kind of, I'm here kind of character.
I mean, there are very few RPGs I play where the main guy is my favorite. So I'm like I didn't like Rex the most in 2. I didn't like Shulk the most in 1. I didn't like Titus the most in Final Fantasy. You know, like,
yeah, but
no, definitely
did.
No one did.
Yeah, but I don't hate Titus as much as everyone else did either. I was just making a point.
Yeah,
no, but it's also one of those things where it's like, you know, when you think about Pyra in Xenoblade 2, it's like, Rex is still the protagonist, even though Pirate is equally or more so important to the story. Whereas it's like, I'm almost, at least from this point, I'm looking at Miyu and I'm like, I'm feeling that more protagonist vibe from her at the moment than I am from Noah, just solely because I feel like, one, like I say, it's basically a dual protagonist. They both are the protagonist. It's just one of them, the game defaults you to playing. But it feels like it's more strongly that side so far than it is the other side. And I'm just hoping that in the second half, Noah kind of picks up that slack in a way, has a character journey. Because so far, I feel like he's just going to be the anchor that everybody else evolves around at this stage. And I'm just hoping that that doesn't happen, because I know Rex had a very great character arc in 2, and I know that Shulk had a very bad character arc in 1, so I'm like, I'm really hoping it's a 2 situation where I end up really liking him at the end, because currently I'm just like, he's fine. The way the sword transforms, I'm not going to spoil it, very cool.
It's so cool.
Don't know if you've seen it yet, Hunter.
I just
His
didn't
sword
expect
is
it to show up that early because it was in the trailer.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it change. I know that the sword, like his sword, is a sheath for another sword.
I also just really appreciate.
And I think that's cool.
I also just, I really
like
appreciate
that he's just smacking people with a regular sword.
I also really do. I also really appreciate that. Yes, it's a fancy sword that's made out of a really strong metal, but it's just a sword. I kind of like that. So far, so good. I really like it because I kind of like that. Yeah, it's just a red sword. There's no kind of Monado, Aegis Blade kind of questioning. We don't have to worry about that. It's just a sword.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. My feelings wouldn't be hurt if it stayed that way. I don't need it to be special.
Same. I mean, my current belief is, if it's from that side, it's from Kevez. So if anything, I'm like, maybe the red's built out of like the replica Monado tech that Shulk made from eons ago. Like, I feel like that might be the biggest stretch.
Be something similar to the Monado Rex from Future Connected.
Yeah.
I liked that when he pulled out the katana, like the rest of it turned into like an Iron Man gauntlet or something.
I love it. I thought it was so cool. I was like an Iron Man gauntlet. It's sick. It's sick. I really like it.
I like that it does nothing, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah, before we get into like the itty gritty of it, like I think the thing that's interesting about the story is I like how it's telling an original story, yet still, especially for me, because obviously with Xenoblade 2, I had nothing pushing me from Xenoblade 1 or anything like that, or any of those questions, because I had never played Xenoblade 1. But I love having that backbone of being interested in the story and where it goes, but also wanting to know what the fuck happened to this world. And because they're gonna tell us, like they're gonna tell us why the world ended up like this, and I'm like, I'm absolutely fascinated, and especially with at least, a couple of returning characters, I'm like, I really am interested in seeing what the fuck happened.
Yeah, because I feel like for me, that's the thing that's missing from this game so far. Because if you look at the opening of 1 and 2, they both show you the whole world and what the land is like. They show the Bionis and the Mechonis right at the start of 1, and then all the Titans in 2. So you're like, what the world is like. You have no idea what Ionios looks like as a whole. And I
also love how this game is, Xenoblade 1, it gives you your character motivation straight away and it runs with it. And it's a very generic kind of plot of, saving the world from the other side, and Xenoblade 2 is, traveling to that end goal. You've got that end goal from the start. This game, it doesn't feel like it's like leading up to this big moment. It just feels like you're living this life of the clock's ticking. What are we going to do? How do we find our future? And it's like,
it doesn't feel like an end goal has been established right
and
away.
It also doesn't feel like, there's no method in my head where I'm like, okay, this is where the queens are going to show up. This is where this is going to play a part. This is what the end goal is. It's like, it genuinely feels like the Xenoblade 1 and 2 references are going to show up, and they will show up, whether we like how little or large it is an involvement. is yet to be seen. But the fact that I don't know how any of this is going to play out is kind of really interesting, and I'm really liking how there's obviously there's chapters in the game, but from what I've heard, the chapter number is low, and from the point we are, Kyle, the game just fucking goes. And it's like,
Ooh.
I like how there is no...
That's nice.
I like how there is no chapter 1, XXX subtitle here, chapter 2, XXX subtitle there. The game just carries on going, and it just feels like one massive story. And at least from the side quest that I see in Hunter, especially with the hero quests that become side quests later, don't skip out on those, because they're like actual main story quests with cutscenes and dialogue and actual spoken things.
Oh,
and
things that
full-blown
actually
things
matter.
that
That's
matter.
nice.
And it's like,
They'll
it
also get you
feels...
more classes to use as
Oh, Kyle's died. We've lost him.
Oh,
We've lost your webcam, Kyle. You might have to restart it.
his 10th term was up.
His 10th term was up. But it's just, it feels like a mystery, and it's like I go out to explore and I see a hero quest, and it's like a full-on story, and it's adding to the lore, and like stuff like the consoles and stuff like that are showing up in those. And for all I know, the game's not forcing you to go and do those missions, because I went all the way back to another X section to do it. And it's like stuff like that. I'm like, it feels like it feels like there's story out there, whereas in Xenoblade 1 and 2, it never felt like there was... The story was always the pink exclamation mark. The story was always where the game's telling me to progress the main storyline along. I know those side quests are fluff pieces and little tangents that don't really matter, but the fact that there are cutscenes... the fact that there's cutscenes and actual quest lines that are going through and a separate part of it, I'm like, I actually want to go out and explore because of that. And from the looks of it, there's a shit ton of those Blade side quests, those hero side quests, because it looks like there's like 30 classes total. So it's like there's plenty. It looks like there's plenty of those to go.
Also, just a
around.
generic heads up for anyone playing the game. When the game gives you the hero record, don't look at it. It gives you silhouettes of all the heroes.
It does.
So don't look at it.
No, I haven't.
Who's that Pokemon?
Don't look at it if you don't want spoilers.
It's like the Blade registry, like where it showed you the Blade shadows before you saw them as well. You know, it's like that. Don't look at it if you don't want generic design spoilers.
Yeah. But like, I just looked at one for the fun of it, and it was the 2 Nopon.
Yeah.
Riku and Manana.
Which
and
I
knew they were there from the trailers. So
I just want to say, by the way, can I just say, I don't know what, like, well, because I'll count those as basic story. Riku and Manana, dude. I don't know why the fuck do we have a Chad like Riku as a Nopon, dude? Why is he?
His voice was. I wasn't ready for that.
I was like,
well, at least I don't have to listen to Tora the whole game. This is nice.
But I'm like, not only is he that, but he's just a normal character. Like, they're not going around being horny or some shit. It's just like, he's just like,
no arbitrary comic relief.
I was like, yeah, you've got the dad Ricky and the Chad Riku, dude. Like they're like the two ends now. It's like, wow.
There was one cutscene where Riku was talking and he wasn't on screen. I'm like, oh, that's the Nopon talking. Yeah. That's who that voice belongs to.
But they I really like them so far. I'm like they're the least annoying Nopon like in a game so far, and I'm like, that's great. I really appreciate that. So before we go into the nitty gritty, before we talk about like actual in-game, what some people might consider as spoilers up to where Hunter has got. So Hunter will have to tell us where he is in a second. Final general impressions then, guys. I think this game's great. I genuinely do. I think that if the intro's a bit long, it's a bit slow to start, but once it picks up, it finally does. And it's like, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is the game for me where it's not just a good Xenoblade game. I'm like looking at it and I'm like, there's a good chance, not a Game Awards, because Jeff Keighley's a fucking idiot and will never allow a JRPG to be nominated for a Game Award. But I think that there'll be a lot. It won't win any awards because of Elden Ring. But I feel like it will be in that. I feel like this is the one that is of that quality where I think it'll be in the discussions. I think this game's excellent. I think this will be a top 5 game of the year by the time the game of the year awards come. Probably because there's no games coming out for the rest of the year. But I genuinely do think it is up there with Elden Ring, with Horizon, in terms of that quality of like, this is such a fucking polished video game where I'm like, this is the Xenoblade game where I'm like, this feels to me like Nintendo finally going, we want Xenoblade to be the big, like the Fire Emblem kind of quality franchise. And I feel like this is them stepping up to that mark. And it's great. It'll suck if this is the final one, but who knows? We're not at the end yet.
Honestly, to me, it feels like a lot like what Xenosaga 3 was to 1 and 2, where they just took the best parts of both of those games and made another basically perfect game out of it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really, like I say, really solid so far. Hunter?
Oh yeah, I've been enjoying this one quite a bit. Like I said before, this is easily has the potential to be my favorite one at the end of it.
I think that's the thing is, I thought I was going to go through this because I was like, whether I like it or not, I'm going to want to play through this just because I want that resolution. I want to know why this has happened, what's happening, what's going on. But it was genuinely like, this game's already getting to that point where it's like, I'm just enjoying the characters, I'm enjoying the world, I'm doing stuff like that. Where it's like, I'm looking forward to that, but the package is so good that even if we got 0 answers, I'm still along for the ride because I'm just enjoying it that much. And the characters are that likable. It's just a really, really solid attempt. And like I say, I know this game's going to make me cry at some point. It already nearly has. Whenever those flutes are played, like, it already swells emotions up. I don't know what it is about that fucking flute, but there's the part where... I'm not going to go into there's the part where both parts of the flute solo are played together for the first time, and I was like nearly tearing up, and I'm like, that's not even a sad part when they're playing the flute, and I'm like getting like kind of like, damn, that flute's going to kill me at some point. I know it is. I know somebody's going to die or something's going to happen and they're going to play the flute, and I'm like, no,
one of them is going to be dead at the end of the game and the other one's going to play both parts.
Aww.
And I'm just gonna say,
take it to the bank.
It's the Agnes part that gets me, dude. It's the high part. It's the Xenoblade kind of riff on the flute. I can't take it. It's too powerful. And I'm sad that it's not on the main menu. I'm really sad that isn't the menu theme.
I was honestly a little surprised when it wasn't the menu theme. Because they'd been playing that flute in the trailer. And
I just assumed it was. I thought that was going to be the menu theme.
I was just assuming, like, yeah, that would have made sense.
I do want to say, it's probably my least favourite main menu out of all the Xenoblade games. Just want to throw that out there. It feels like a JPEG, and it's like, I feel like it would have been a lot better if it was the shot from that original trailer with the Titan there and them playing the flute and it having been the flute solo and it's them playing on the hill. I feel like that would have been a better title screen than just JPEG. But, it's a great game. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't already and if you're into Xenoblade. And of course, the best part is all the trilogies on Switch, so you can just pick up the whole thing. The whole story's there.
You sure could. Now, I don't know what your guys' take on this, but do you think this game could be played by itself?
Oh, if I didn't play the other two and I was interested in this one, I would have absolutely picked it up anyway.
I think it's definitely there.
Like, I went into 2 without 1, and I feel like you could do the same with this.
I almost feel like 2... People always say, oh, you shouldn't play 2 without 1, like, before playing 1. But, like, 2 and 1, I think, are interchangeable. You can start with either or and have a good time and then go to the next one. You do you.
Yeah.
I don't think that the information that you find out from 2 because of 1 is worth playing it over the other one first, because I feel there's an equal amount of moments in 1 where if you play 2 first, you have those moments as well, especially if you're playing Definitive Edition. You can look at certain characters and go, oh, and you get that kind of moment yourself the other way around.
Where they retconned a character. Yeah.
With this game, so far, I don't know how much. That's the thing, though, is they said when they made 2, they specified that you would not need to play 1 to go in. Whereas what they've been saying with 3 is new players will have a good time, but they made it knowing that people would play 1 and 2 before playing it. So I'm going to assume that the connections are a lot more than the other two later. It's just whether you can enjoy it and the story carries through without having to resort to you knowing stuff is essentially it. Are you going to be confused at the end? Who knows? I think that it'll be probably, but
standalone JRPGs do the exposition dump that's confusing at the end, so who cares?
Dude, standalone games do the exposition dump. I just watched
it's all about
play Somnium Files.
It's all about where that stuff comes in and whether it's that intrusive. And I don't think it will be. There's a selfish part of me that's like, I just want the whole second half of this game to be fan service. Take me in the world. Let's go, baby. I want to see all the tragedy.
I do too.
But it's not going to happen. But I think it's a good entry point. But at the same time, all three are there, so you can help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
From a gameplay and graphical perspective, though, this is definitely the one to play.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, the game has an easy mode, which makes it super accessible if you find the whole thing overwhelming.
It does. In fact, I've been playing in the easy mode, not because I don't get the combat, but because I hate how Xenoblade's health scale. I don't like how Xenoblade's health scaling works, where it's like normal just feels like such a bullet sponge that it's like I'm not feeling a difference.
Why do I have to do my superchargy thing like 3 times to kill you? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say it right now. Easy in Xenoblade 3, from my experience, is not like easy in 2 and 1. It feels like it's a lot. It feels like easy actually requires you to know how to use the move sets. To fight optional bosses, I have still had to use multiple chain attacks, and I've had to use multiple like connections and Ouroboros stuff. So it doesn't feel like it's just easy, leave the game running mode.
The beat the game button.
Yeah. It's more forgiving, but I still feel like there's difficulty there. And like I say, I mainly do it because of the fucking health sponge. I played on normal for the first 2 hours, and I was like, "Oh, these health bars are miserable."
That was about when I had it too.
Yeah, I'm like,
I turned it down as well. I'm like, I'm not doing this for another 50 hours.
I'm probably gonna bump it down to the easy. I already had to do that for one fight against your fight with the 3 other party members.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Dude, I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Get this guy.
Also didn't help that I took Uni's power ring move off, so she wasn't charging her talent art, because that was a design choice that they made.
Alrighty, let's get into the nitty gritty, right? So there you go. If you wanted your basic impressions, would you recommend it? Yes, go play it. We can get into more specifics now. So Hunter, where are you in the game? Where are you actually?
The middle of chapter 2. I just finished fighting. Was it K? I don't know. The second Mobius guy that shows up.
The guy that has like 4 phases.
That one.
You fought the Ethel lady right before his boss fights.
You fight Ethel, then you fight him, then you fight him again, then you fight him again,
and then you fight him
it's
one
like,
more time.
Oh my god, let it end.
I'm like, will you please end?
And then I thought the final one was going to be like an easy mode where he was basically all defeated and you just like, clobber him. And I was like, no, this is still fucking requiring me to think.
I can still lose.
I was like, oh man, I really need to use this chain attack right now.
It's such a cool... that fight is very flashy and I love it. And it's just like, it's... The direction of the cutscenes very much feels like Xenoblade 2 more than 1, and that's, I think, what I'm really enjoying is how fucking over the top and flashy they've been.
Over the top anime.
Yeah.
Haven't had to watch the same flashback 90 times or flash forward, I guess. In
Xenoblade thank God,
case.
Yeah. But no,
I just scream at Zanza 300 times.
Yeah, I just really love that. Let's get into some... I'm surprised the Van Damme thing was so early on. I was genuinely shocked that the Van Damme thing was so early on.
That was so funny, dude.
I'm glad, to be honest.
They just axed him off that early.
I kind of like...
I hope if this series keeps going on, they just keep giving that name to a dude who dies, like to motivate the party.
I just like how in 2 and
Dude, they'd
3
be
they
really
are
fast in
genuinely the
Xenogears.
exact. Yeah, but I like how in 2
has
and
it
3
been doing
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
With that guy, with that name specifically, he's like Sid, but he
Van
dies.
something.
Oh,
I think in the old games it was Vanguard.
Yeah, it was Vanguard. That sounds right. I've read the Wikipedia
funny.
article before. I think that sounds right. But no, it's weird how he has got the exact same appearance as well. It's like exact same markings.
Same voice actor.
I am like I'm not far enough yet because I've not got to Sword March. I'm like that still could be like there could be a reason for that still. Like there genuinely could. But I'm also like, or was it just like a fun little nod that he's the one that guides these new that pushes these new people on their course? I'm like, it could be just a cool little wink and a nod.
I
But it
want
also
to
could
say
be
it was a
important.
cool and a nod because the name of his partner was Yu, which was the name of one of his mercenary buddies in Xenoblade 2.
But then what if that means
But
that?
then I don't know.
What if they're clones or something? What if my whole theory
What
is because you know they
happened to
keep coming
Zuo?
like all these people keep coming out of the fucking pods or whatever, and it's 10 years. I'm like, what if they are all clones of previous people? Like, what
That'd
if
be
that guy
wild.
was a clone of Van Damme's DNA or whatever because everything was in the Aegis core? I'm like, oh god, what if like everything is like. What if we get to Sword March and it's all like you see fucking Rex walking around? You're like, oh fuck, get away, you prick! Stay away. Not another one of you.
Dude, what if Melia has a Shulk clone?
Oh god, that's
Or,
one of my biggest.
Queen of Kevis.
One of my biggest
Totally
questions is
not
what is
Melia.
the deal with Melia and Nia? That's like one of my biggest questions right now because I don't understand. I don't understand Mobius, but I don't understand the affiliation either and what's going on. I'm like, why would they want this whole war and fighting and stuff like that? It's just a very. I thought we'd get into the game and I'd be like, okay, I understand why these factions are at war like instantly, and I'm like, okay, but it's like it feels like, especially because the consoles are on both sides and it seems like they're playing both sides. But also, does that mean then the Melia and Nia are also playing both sides and they're in on it together, or are they being played by the consoles, or what's happening? Because it's like
And are
the consoles
they living forever?
They're definitely living forever.
To stop you from making him.
It's just and it's like, why are them two the only like? It's like, where are the rest of, like where are the rest of everybody else? Right? It's like there should be some kind of Hyentia that are still there. There should still be some characters from Xenoblade 2 rocking around. Are they at Sword March? Are they where? What?
The other thing is that we don't know how far in the future Xeno 3 is compared with 1 and 2, where they were running in parallel with each other.
We don't. You know what? Do you want to know? Here's my big.
This one is also parallel.
Here's my big theory, right? Because here's the thing.
Parallel worlds exist.
Yeah,
there's an episode of Doctor Who that has this same kind of thing where there's like a war going on between two factions, like humans and like this alien species called the Hath, right? And they've had this fight for generations. That's the term they use, is generations. And what they do is they like stick their hands in a cloning machine and it creates like an offspring of them. And then it's like regenerate. So they've gone through generations of generations. And then the plot twist at the end of the episode is it's only been 25 years. But they've gone through that many generations of people dying that they thought that I don't think, actually, it wasn't even, probably not even 25 years. It was probably like months or something ridiculous like that. But because they've been going through so many clones and so many generations of people.
These guys sucked at fighting.
Yeah. They did. What had fought like an eternity war had been going on. And that's what I'm starting to think is I'm starting to feel like this war between Agnes and Keves has been a lot shorter than people think it is what my
imagine if the terms were only like a month instead of a year. Yeah.
Or if it's like, if it has been 10 years, what if this fight's only been going on for like 100 years? What if there's only been like, 10 lots of 10 terms or whatever, and it's like people...
It's only been going on for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because also, I feel like it's very important that Noah mentions that one graduation, that homecoming ceremony, that's the only one they've ever seen. No one ever makes
Yeah.
it that far in. It's very rare for somebody to reach their homecoming. So I'm wondering.
You had that one guy at the start who got to like 1 month left.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Willow.
Unsurprisingly died.
And I mean, Miyu's pretty close, and it's like, why also, what is the term? What's the deal with the terms, and why are people dying? And also, obviously, Van Damme was old, and he in the way he talks it sounds like the whole term thing can be reversed, because from the sounds of him, he said fight for their future. I'm almost assuming that Van Damme's little group of people are almost people that have ran away and have formed their own splinter group. And I'm like, it's all very interesting lore-wise, where I'm like, I don't know anything, and I'm very interested in it.
Yeah, it's fascinating for sure.
Because I thought we'd have answers initially, like at the start. I thought we'd have an exact reason why Agnes, because we don't know why that, because other than fighting to live, it's like, why did it start? What's happening? Like I say,
that's the only setup we've really got.
Yeah, and it's hard to, until they focus on like the leaders of the respective countries for a minute, it will be hard to know, because that's a very easy setup to give the population of these people you want to subjugate, because then they just won't think. So we're not going to find out until it like focuses on them for a minute, or maybe the console dudes who are instigating everything.
The Mobius, which is very weird. I don't get what's going on with them either.
I don't know, but I hope that some of them have personality traits that are different than just cackling and evil, because
there's literally one that's Lord Farquaad. There's literally one that's basically Lord Farquaad. He's about this. He's about that tall, and he's like, I'm small. See, I'm Lord Farquaad.
Because the two of them that I've met so far could have, like you could have swapped out when you met them, and it wouldn't really have mattered.
I mean, I like the first one, Mr. Wild Ride, as the community called him.
Mr. Wild Ride.
He got a name, but
he was like Jay or something. I don't remember.
I don't know. He said he was Mobius, and then I checked
the
out
one we
the
killed
was
K.
I was laughing.
The one we killed was K.
K was the one we killed. I think Jay or what? It was some letter, man. It's hard to tell.
But it's
like I said, they could have been swapped out.
One is Mobius. What's their deal? It's like. Also, there's that future connected bollocks. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, is Mobius, like, is that what the Fog King was? Is that what the Fog King was? Was this Mobius?
No future connected as well as I probably should.
I just remember Fog King, so I'm like, okay, is that what Mobius was before it basically was put into these beings, these councils, and then Ouroboros is like the opposite of that. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I just don't know. I'm like, it's so weird. It's so weird.
It is funny.
Also, the sword's so far away.
I like their symbols for the thing being, the Infinity Strip, and then the Ouroboros being the protagonist. It's a fun duality there.
That's cool.
I also
go
on, Cal. Go on.
I was just gonna say, I really like the consoles in theory, the Mobius guys, because they remind me a lot of. It seems like a really cool allusion to what the Testaments from Xenosaga were like. None of you have played that, but I really enjoy it.
Well, that's cool. Are the Testaments different from each other eventually?
Yeah.
Well,
they actually all have personalities except for DC Douglas's character.
That's heartening then. Oh, DC Douglas doesn't get to be Wesker.
But 3 out of 4 is not bad.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in if it's like, are they going to be the villain throughout the whole of it, or will the bigger picture behind the councils overtake it? Because I'm like, in Xenoblade 1, we had a direct villain that was one person, and then Xenoblade 2, you had a group of villains, but obviously it was mainly led by Malice and Jin. And it's like, I doubt that we're going to have all, like, 12 or whatever, however many of these councils there are. I doubt 26. That they're... 26? Is it 26? Is it one for every level?
I hope not.
The alphabet.
I fucking hope not. I really do
Jeez. Not. Well, if some of them are optional, like, if, like, he, like,
Because I'm assuming that they're working for some. They showed a figure of somebody that they're working for, but I'm also like, is that just the villain? Is that always just one guy? I'm like, I feel like again, I'm like, it seems like it's.
Dude, that one cutscene where they were all talking to each other had very Organization 13 throne room vibes to me, and I was like, ugh, I don't like this.
Can we talk about that they're just watching the plot unfold in like a movie theater?
Do you know what I thought at first? I was like, yeah, at first. Do you know what I thought at first? I was like, do you think that's the movie theater from Uriah? Because it looks very similar.
Playhouse.
Yeah. I'm almost like, I wonder if it's the same place.
Oh, there's part of me that wants that to be real, dude.
Oh, dude, there's so many.
I just want a familiar landmark.
It's like when they said Sword March, because originally, because it was like, because it's
the Sword March sword is just the sword from one, except upturned.
I was, I really thought that, for a while, because I had heard in the first trailer, people said that it was Sword March. I was like, imagine if it was Sword Mott and it was like Gormott, but the sword had stabbed through it, and I was like, that would have been cool.
I thought they were saying Sword Mott.
I was like, that'd be so cool.
But that's just accents.
Yeah, but it's not. It's Sword March. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Shame.
And I'm like, well, that's
straight through Tora's house, dude. Straight through Tora's house.
That'd be great.
It's just, it's so weird. And then you got the extinction events as well. I forgot about the extinction events as well. They're also happening. Where I'm like, I doubt they're the council's things. I'm like, I don't know what. So much shit. So much shit. 15 hours in, I'm like, I've got no answers. Absolutely fuck all. Apparently it's going to take forever to get to the sword. I'm like, well, at this rate, I hope that Miyu's lapse of time is going to get fixed, hopefully near the start of the story then, because otherwise we're going to run out of time real quick.
Dude, I remember seeing a meme before the game came out of someone just like being like, Mio, I have 3 months to live, and someone's just like moving the clock forward over and over again. And then she just permanently dies.
I'm just like,
could you imagine if that was a thing?
It's just, it's weird. It's like I say, it's very, like, I like the it's an interesting idea of them having 10 years and then that's it, they're up. I think it's a really interesting idea. I also think it's really interesting of having only one of the characters be extremely close and the rest of them have got like some leeway. And I think that's extremely interesting, especially, like I say,
it's a cool way to add some urgency, yeah.
Especially if it is a character that I feel will be as important. Imagine if the rest of them
started dying, and Mio was like one of the last ones standing, and then time was up.
Yeah, that's like, I'm just like, that's my whole thing. Is like, I'm like, I don't know where this is going, and that's why I'm kind of liking, because I was expecting it to be kind of more generic in terms of its storytelling, where I was like, I thought within the first 5 to 10 hours they would give us our goal, and I was like, okay, I know where we're at least aiming. Whereas 15 hours in, I still have no fucking clue where this story is going to progress, and I think that's more than I was expecting from them to keep secret, to be honest. Because you know what these games are like? These games are like, we've got to get to Mechonis, we've got to get to Elysium, and even if they do have a plot twist halfway through, they then immediately go, okay, now it's time to get back to Bionis. Yeah, like they give you it back again.
Like, that was a weird detour, anyways.
Yeah, you gotta keep going.
You just gotta keep going, man. You just got it. God. What else can we talk about? I don't know. What have we not talked about? Anybody? I'm just trying to think.
Like, for longtime Xeno fans, there's a lot of cool references. Like, I already brought up the console being like the testaments from Saga, but even Noah, he feels like is very similar to how Faye was in Xenogears, the protag of that game. They have the same kind of like character, like hobbies, I guess you could say, where they're both like kind of not looking to fight, and they're just kind of like lovers of the arts. Faye was a painter, and Noah's a musician.
Yeah, that's neat.
I also just remember seeing a lot of like build up hype to this game, people being like, finally, Takahashi gets to make disc 2 of Xenogears. Because even like Noah and Mio's Ouroboros form looks like what Phase Robot in Gears looked like.
Yeah.
It's so cool, dude. It's a lot of good shit for longtime fans. Especially for me, who binged the whole series.
Imagine doing that.
Imagine.
I don't recommend it. Gears is very old and bad. I love Gears. I love Gears. Let me change that sentence. I love Gears. I will not play Gears again. It's very clunky.
How dare you?
Aged poorly, some could say.
Mm.
How dare you?
Unless
How dare you?
Square wanted to make an HD 2D of Xenogears, then I'd be
Wouldn't
all
that
for it.
wild?
But that's never gonna happen
Because they hate you.
because they hate me. Me
If they do-
specifically.
It'll be like the Chrono Cross port instead.
This is why they turned Octopath Traveler into a mobile game.
Oof.
Because they hate me specifically.
Yes.
I'm just gonna. I was looking. I just love that the plot for Xenoblade 3 is that long, and no one's got to the end of it yet. That the Wikipedia page is still a safe space. Because I was like, oh, that's great. There's literally
funny.
nothing. They just literally, it just says that it just talks about the Van Damme section, and that's it. That's it. That's literally all they have. I don't know what else to say because we were pretty in depth with the main section. That's my thing is. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I missed. I don't know. It's just a great game.
It really
You know,
is.
I normally don't like flashbacks to childhood.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
In this game, I think it's an effective way of illustrating how messed up their situation is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also the thing.
'Cause-
That their flashback scenes are really interesting. It is like, especially with like, I thought for a second I was like, oh god, look, they've got this fat kid with them. They're gonna do the whole he's gonna die and it's gonna be like a massive fucking deal. And then it's like, oh god, they're all gonna be scarred for life from it, and it's gonna be brought up 6 million times. But it's just like it's just been like little flashbacks, and it's like, oh, okay, that actually now I understand some of these characters more in the way that they are, and it's not kind of been shoved in my face so often, and it's not like
like after the first time I saw him, I'm like, oh, so Uni had to become the healer because he died, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. And it's also they didn't do the whole cliche shot in battle or whatever, bad like goodbye monologue, you can do it or whatever. It's just fucking splat.
He got splattered.
Yeah.
It's just splat, and then having to live with that. And it's just like I say, not seeing all of their characters, like we've not seen everybody have that much of a backstory yet. Like in particular, for us, we've still not seen Sana or Muse. Kyle, I know we haven't, right?
We've seen a little bit of Tyon.
We've seen Tyon a tiny bit,
two.
but nothing from them too. And it's just like it's interesting. I'm especially interested. Well, no, we've seen tiny bits of Miu, but that's just talking to somebody else that we don't know who that is yet. Like I say, it's just interesting bits and pieces. I'm interested in learning about these characters.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's always an interesting part when you're early in the game where there's stakes, but there's no, like, the stakes aren't high yet, where it's like, you're still connecting with the characters are still getting to know each other as well, where it's like, you don't have those kind of full connections yet, and it's like I say, I think the game's gonna, I feel like from the tone of it and how the whole kind of theme of it is life, and this whole kind of dealing with death kind of situation. I'm almost in like that P3 vibe where I'm like, oh god, something terrible's gonna happen, or something sad's gonna happen.
Yeah, I could see it happening. It'd be very tonally in line with what's been presented so far.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be the darkest story of the three of them from what I've played so far. Like, I feel like it's been pretty light, but at the same time, I do feel like it's gonna get darker in tone, especially when we get to the discussions of, okay, why is the world like this? Why do people only get to live 10 years? Why does all this bloodshed have to happen?
Something I was thinking when he like slashed the clock because of in that cutscene that I just saw.
Yeah.
I was like, if that is the collective life force of a bunch of people who have died, and like when it had the shot of like the red spilling out of it, I was like, it'd be funny if the souls went back into the bodies.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
I thought they were doing it at first because I was like, when the people started like unconscious people started waking up, I was like, wait, did they just come back, or is like, I'm like, that was weird. I was like, did they just come back or were they knocked out? I don't know.
Or imagine if they went off and like, I don't know, merged, or the dead souls merged with like, I don't know, one of the wild monsters or something. That'd be wild.
I do think it's interesting as well that they specify that breaking the clock doesn't stop the countdown. It's like they're still on their 10 terms. Like that doesn't stop it. It stops their need to fuel it, but it also doesn't fix that problem. So it's like it's almost as if the two are separate, which is obviously.
I like how they brought up that silly flame clock mechanic for like an hour.
I'm so glad
and
they
then
did
got
that,
rid of it.
Because I was like, that's ugly on the UI. That takes up way too much
I'm like,
room.
yeah.
And it's like,
I'm
when it
glad
was
it's
kind of
not
a bait,
there.
I was like,
it
great.
just feels like it's pointless.
I also feel like there's going to be a part of the game though later on when you get back in, like you get back like the control of the flame clock comes back over you and it comes back for a brief period. I can 100% see them doing that, and I'm like, oh no, don't bring it back.
Don't do it.
Don't bring the damn flame clock back, baby. I don't want it.
Honestly, I didn't even notice it started or went away.
Yeah, it was like next to the map was a massive circle that was like fuel.
Yeah, it was like a circle that looked like they implied that it would like go down or something, but I don't believe I ever saw it move. So it was just there taking up space, being
I saw mine
annoying.
moving. It was moving. I just don't know if it was doing anything or if it just moved.
It just reminds me of the Cloud Sea level from Xenoblade 2, where they're like, this is going to be a big deal, and it really only affects, like, Gormott and Morardain and nothing else. And it's used for, like, 2 quests.
Yeah. But no. It's interesting. But no. God. It's a good game. It's a good game. Like I say, I don't like
Really good video game.
My COVID brain is happening where I'm just like, I don't remember if there was anything I wanted to say other than the class selection system's fucking shite. Get rid of it, bro. Get rid of it. It feels like you're grinding for a multiplayer game, dude. It genuinely does. I'm like, just have the levels be set for every character. So if someone's using Noah's sword levels up just separately. Not fucking Noah on Noah's sword, Miyu on Noah's sword, Lance on Noah's sword. No, don't do that.
Yeah, having to like start over how adept you are with it does seem counterintuitive. It's like, why would I want to do that if I already have this one maxed out?
I also think
it's
really stupid that you get the new class on one character only, and then the character has to play as that character to then get it to unlock on the others, and they all unlock at different arbitrary rates. That's fucking dumb. That is so stupid. How it's like this 2 characters will get it surprisingly quick, and then there'll be the other 4 that are like the other 3 will just sit there slowly molding, and I'm like, why? That's so dumb. Because it's like, now I've already got it to level 10 on Noah, and it's still not done on everybody else. So I'm like, so now I've got to stick another fucker on that class, and then I've got to move Noah off it now onto something else. I'm like, oh, it's so much grinding. It's like, I didn't ask for this. I'm gonna do a hunter and fucking stop caring soon. I can feel it.
Yeah, I already like. You say there's a dual swords class. I might play around with that.
It's so fucking cool,
and
dude. You're gonna love it.
And that's probably the extent of my experimentation with that, unless they, I don't know, like a scythe or something. That'd be pretty sick. But
I found a guy that has guns.
Oh yeah, there's a dual gun guy.
There's a dual gun guy. Yeah.
I can't wait for that guy. Everybody's going to be a dual gunner. We're going to be the coolest group ever.
Not to spoil anything, but you can go and find him. He's actually from where you are.
Oh my god, I can get him now?
Yeah, that's what I went and did. He's one of the ones I have.
Ethan, cut the episode now. I need to go do this.
No. Now
That's
Good night,
let's
everybody.
talk. Let's talk about the credits. All 500,000 names. No,
I haven't seen them yet. I didn't get to the end.
I just rushed. I just saw them anyway. I was like, fuck it. Just hit the spoiler. Who's in it? No, I don't know who's in it. Been avoiding IMDb. I'm like, that voice sounds familiar, but I'm not looking at it because I'm like, I'll see something and I'll be like, no. So I'm like, no.
In the hero record, if they join your team, they do say the voice actor's name underneath them.
Oh, do they? Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All I know is Miyu is played by the same person that played Rani in Elden Ring. That's all I know.
Oh,
Which is
fascinating.
yeah. It's my
The
favorite
person
character
who
in
played
Elden Ring. So
Ethel, person who played Ethel, this was her first voice acting role.
that's good.
Oh,
The
good
voice
for her.
acting in general, we haven't mentioned it.
It's really good.
Very good. Step up from the previous Xenoblade games for sure.
Yeah, it
Where
doesn't feel
even side
nearly as
characters
goofy.
don't feel fucking goofy. And even the children, like there's a kid that shows up in chapter 3. He just sounds like a fucking character. It doesn't sound like a 40-year-old guy. Like it doesn't. Like it just
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
it just sounds like a regular, just like teen.
The two Napons are less annoying.
The two Nopons are less annoying. It's like a win-win.
One of
I
them's
just-
a Giga Chad.
Me just waiting for the old characters to show, if any old character shows up, just for the jarring like change in voice acting. I'm like, come on, baby. Do a
Zeke to
flashback.
be like, I want Zeke to be 90 years old and still calling everybody chum.
Hello, chum. Who knows? Maybe that's what the expansion's for.
Oh, baby,
That'd be
we can
funny.
only hope.
I mean, they announced this week that they expect the expansion to be the same size as Torna. They are going for
Nice.
this
Oh,
time.
yeah,
They're
I
going
did read
for it.
something about that.
Yeah. They also said Xenoblade 3 is not the end of Xenoblade, but I'm like, yeah, but you have X and everything else, so it's like
Xenoblade X2,
they
finally.
won't make it.
Why
Xenoblade-
not?
They'll make 4.
Xenoblade
They'll make 4
XX.
first. They'll make Xenoblade 4 first. We know it. You know, it's something made.
Xenogears Disc 2 as its own thing.
No, you don't get shit, bro. You don't get shit.
Xenosaga Trilogy Remastered.
Yeah, but no, it's a very good game. Except that intro was so fucking bad. The start was so bad.
Yeah.
Dude. Like 40 minutes till I fucking got control, and it was in a desert. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Then you get back out. Then you get out of that tutorial section. Like, yes, finally, control of the pie. We're in there. Desert again. I'm like, fucking kill me. Who asked for desert? I've
That's a
seen
good
nothing
question.
but desert this entire fucking game. I'm like, I saw a
I
bit of
hate
grass.
sand.
Saw a bit of grass. Touched it for like 5 seconds, and then it was desert again. I'm like, oh, god damn it, bro. God damn it.
Yeah, the intro
Gosh.
wasn't great, but
Yeah.
you know.
It's all good, though. They've not done any of the cliche anime-isms yet. I'm waiting for that to happen.
Dude,
like I
there was
say, I'll
literally a bath scene in the opening.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah,
just
but
bros
that
being
doesn't count
bros. There was
because it
no
wasn't-
horny.
it
It was
wasn't
no
The
horny.
whole gender separated, someone's peeking at something nonsense.
I
that Persona feels
actually
obligated to do all
really
the
liked
time.
that scene because it was just like
Yeah.
it was just bros being
I
bros.
respected
No
it
one
because it was
cared.
just people. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. They wouldn't care. They've been
I was
raised as
expecting
soldiers
someone
since
to make a
popping
scene
out of this
about
tube.
it. I was expecting someone to make a scene about it to be like, "Whoa, hey," or something like that, but they didn't. They were just like, they just had a fucking fight in the bath. They were like,
I love when
They got pissy
Uni
and shit.
and Lance just get up and start arguing, and Noah's just like slowly sinking into the water. Just
Yeah.
like, what are you guys doing?
I liked that scene because it just showed that it was like a different world. Because like everyone else, because
Yeah.
everybody was thinking, wait, they're in the same. Wait, they're in the same. They're not. It's gender neutral. What everyone's just. I'm like, yeah, because they have 10 years to fight. There's no horny in this world.
Yeah.
Not yet. Anyway.
Honestly, if they had had it be separate, I would have been like, huh, weird considering what they set this world up to be.
And I mean, they did the whole when they were getting changed, the boys all of a sudden were like, "This is weird now," and I was like, "Oh god,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. They're gonna get horny at some point." And I'm like, "Oh no!" Like I know it had to happen because it's Xenoblade, but at the same time, I'm like, "No god, who's getting friend zoned this time?"
I mean,
Lance.
it's an even split, so hypothetically, nobody.
hypothetically nobody, but I feel like someone will. In fact, I'm going to place bets on Uni right now. I'm going to put my fucking money down, and when we get to the spoiler cast, I can be right or wrong, dude. But that's my bet right now.
Yeah.
Nah,
I'll
Uni's
throw- I'll
fine.
throw-
She's
I'll-
got Black Joker.
What
I was gonna throw my bet on Joker, being the one who gets friend zoned.
Oh, Taeyeon's not like Taeyeon's getting nothing at the end of this, dude. He's getting a fucking he's getting a certificate. That's all he's
He's
getting.
getting a participation trophy. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? It's like
I typically tend to like strategist kind of characters. He not doing it for me yet.
I don't hate him. I think
Yeah.
I think the problem with him is he's too kind of he's too kind of strategy. He's just only caring about like numbers. He's a numbers guy. He doesn't really have any emotions yet, and I feel like he needs to warm up a bit, and I think he will eventually. It's just he's kind of not used to it, especially because the Kevez 3 have been together their whole lives. They've been a team since the start. Whereas the Agnes group, yeah, you've got Miyu and Sana who have known each other for a while, not the whole time, because she's only known Miyu since they were both put in that group. And then obviously Taeyeon was the last person to join them, so it's like them three are a little less close. Like Noah, Uni, and Lance all feel like they're just bros. They're just fucking. They're like siblings. They're like siblings. They're just fucking punching each other, shoving each other around, calling each other names. Don't give a shit.
Bathing together.
Yeah, bathing together. Don't give a toss, dude. Who cares, dude? I'm just gonna fight you in the bath. Who cares? Whereas them three seem a little bit more like
distant.
Not distant. They feel more chummy than family, if that makes sense. Like they're more like. They're more like friends that care, whereas those three feel like they're family because it feels like them three that's what they have, and they've not known anything different. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, any final notes, or do you just want to go back and play the game? Because I feel like that's what Kyle's looking at me now. He knows that Gunman's out there, so he's like, I'm out. Fucking, you've lost me, bro. You've lost me. My voice is kind of dying, if you can tell, so it's like... I feel like we should wrap it up. It's very good. There will be a spoiler cast for it. Don't you worry,
even
guys.
Outside of being a good Xenoblade game, it's just a really good video game.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing where this takes us. I'm also interested to see how much of the game I play. How much will I be a side quest Andy in this one because they've actually put time and effort into them, or will there be a point where me and Hunter play race down the fucking golden path where we run out run as far as we can towards the story?
Dude, earlier this week when they were like, oh yeah, it took about 150, 140 hours. I'm like, bet.
I mean, I definitely think that it is a longer story than 1 and 2 because 13 hours in and being at the start of chapter 3 or whatever, I'm like, that feels like...
Yeah, it feels like it's longer.
Even if there's only like 7 or 8 chapters or whatever the number is, right? It'd be like, even then, it'd still be like a 50-hour run through.
Yeah, but people were like claiming that the first Xenoblade it's like an 80-hour game, and what we did it in 30.
Oh yeah, we ran through that fucking. we turned aggro off and we fucking ran. We were like, no gameplay, please.
I didn't have the time.
Bun Valley, fucking run, dude. Fucking nope.
Yeah, this game, the plot definitely feels like a much slower burn than the other two were.
I'm just hoping they don't just crank it up to 11 at the end and then it rushed through the end. That's my hope. I don't know.
It feels like no matter what happens, RPGs can't ever find a sweet spot where it feels like they don't need the stupid exposition dump at the end. And my level of care just depends on like how much I care about the people.
It's going to be interesting.
That'll be what gets me through it.
It's
most of the time.
It's just, I don't know, there's so much, and, we've got the expansion as well that'll be out next year, which will be equally as interesting. Will it be in this timeline? Will it be, My dream is, I'm in my head, I'm thinking that it's going to be in the mid-gap between where 3 is and where 1 and 2 left off. That's what my dream is it's going to end in that mid gap with characters crossing over, especially because the cover art for the season passes all 3 Monados together. I'm like, that'd be interesting, but who knows? Maybe it'll be with these guys. Maybe they're chill. I'm hoping they don't get horny, because if they get horny, I'm going to be like, oh, for fuck's sake, not this again. If you have to have a fucking horny bath scene, I'm going to cry, dude. I'm going to cry.
Oh my god.
If we have that classic anime conversation of which one's your favorite, then I'm going to be like, oh no, here we go, dude, here we go.
Say, chum, which one do you fancy, Pyro or Mithra?
Say, chum, yeah.
Zeke
Which
just
personality of your
heavens,
multiple
asks all
personality
of them.
girlfriend? Just like, oh. It's just so, like, oh god. It's doing well so far. It's the least horny Xenoblade game so far.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. Big deal. They're learning to tell stories without it being based on someone being horny. That's not the goal. I can't wait for them to fuck it up. But oh. Anyway, those are our first impressions for Xenoblade 3. What are you guys thinking about it? Let us know. Like I say, we don't know when the spoiler cast will be. It'll probably be in a couple of weeks, because it's probably going to take us a while to get through this game, unless me and Hunter go Button Valley on this bitch and start fucking running through it. But there's no games coming out, so I kind of want to take my time with it, because there's nothing really coming out this month that I care about. So it's like, I've got to keep this going.
It will be funny if the game does hit a point where it'd be funny if it was the exact same point for both of us too. We're like, okay, I've had enough of you. Main path.
So they
Dude,
got
what if you climb Sword March and it's just Button Valley again?
I'm gonna fucking cry. That's when I will. That's when I will Golden Path it. I'm so interested.
If they would have the audacity to give me a tower that I have to climb with side quests in it, man, I'd be like, nah, not doing this.
I'm interested, dude. I can't wait to see. Like I say, so far, there's been so many characters and stuff like that where it's like, even like Ethel just feels like, okay, she was here, now she's gone. That's like, she's done a part. Maybe she'll show up again. But also,
dude, yeah, we love new Beatrix.
There's just a load of characters where they just keep showing up and then going away, and it's like, that's kind of it. And I'm like, I kind of like this. I kind of like having characters that just kind of go in and out, and it's like not too big a deal.
Self-contained side stories.
Show up, do their part, bounce.
Yeah. It's interesting. I like it, and I hope it stays that way. But you'll find out soon enough. Spoiler cast TBD. We will do it. And as always, it's a bonus episode, so you don't even have to worry about it taking up anything else. Anyway.
Yeah.
As always, I guess, our links are on screen right now. You can go and follow us on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with everything that we are doing at the moment. Like playing Xenoblade, if you want to see more Xenoblade takes, go to Twitter, because we'll probably have some. Now that the podcast... I always like to stay silent on games until we've talked about it on the podcast. Once the podcast's out, then it's free range. Then I'm like, okay, any instant feelings? Straight online, because that's what you should do, guys. You should always put your opinions on Twitter straight away after you have them.
Always scream into the void.
Always shout into the void. And hope that Hunter hears you. I'm just looking at Hunter. Hunter's like, he's looking at something.
My audio on Discord
oh yeah,
shorted out for a second. I had to go and change the input and output back.
Oh.
What were you guys saying for the past, 45 seconds?
I was just talking about screaming opinions on Twitter and hoping Hunter hears you, and you couldn't hear me, so it was kind of apt, because you were just sitting there looking menacingly at your monitor. But hey, if you want to ignore me like Hunter did, that's cool too. You can go and follow us on Twitter at HotGamers Only.
I just couldn't hear you.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/HotGamers Only. And hey, if you don't want to look at our stupid faces, that's cool too. Search for HotGamers Only in your favourite podcast service, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're on it. Go and check us out there. We'd really appreciate it. Leave a review, leave a follow, do what you want. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. It's been fun.
My biggest worry while I was deaf for a second was that you were just going to continue the spiel and I was going to miss the stupid hand thing.
Oh, well, yeah, of course that was your problem. Of course it was. But no, we're back into the video game void for a little bit after this, so I hope you enjoy Xenoblade while you can. there's a big wait till Splatoon and maybe Saints Row or Soul Hackers if any of us could be fucked, which we probably won't.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm definitely picking up Roller Drome in the middle of the month,
Oh,
so
Roller
there will be
Drome.
that.
But you know, no big hitters for a while anyway. But alas, we'll live. We've got this bastard to get through anyway. But who knows what the topic will be next week? You'll have to find out same time, same place next week for more Hunter. You better get thinking.
Oh, God. Yeah, I better get thinking. After
yeah.
we've all made it a decent way into the game, we can make a tier list about the stupid classes in this game.
Oh, welcome to Xenoblade Month, where you milk this game dry.
We briefly become a Xenoblade channel.
Yeah, exactly. Look forward to it. But until then, have an awesome week. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.